Right, hello there everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be speaking to a really good friend of mine today called Mila, and she had a gastric bypass. So I want her to share her experience with you so that anyone else thinking about having something like that done or any other weight loss surgery might be able to get some tips. So hi there, Mila, how are you?
Hi, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm brilliant. So you was telling me that you had a gastric bypass done. So let's just get straight to it really. So first of all, you live in London and you decided to go outside of London. Why did you decide to do that?
Because the truth is, first of all, like a brief background, I've been struggling with being overweight and obese my whole life, really. Definitely my whole adult life. So I actually went to my GP, so general practitioner, your kind of clinical physician or whatever.
Yeah.
And because you can actually get it done under the NHS, which is obviously the state funded. And I saw my GP in May 2021, and I got referred. But what I didn't know at the time, that you had to go on a 12-month program before you were referred for surgery, which included therapy, included various different things. It's absolute nonsense because at my age, I've done all those things, and you're just prolonging the suffering of the individual, to be honest. And obviously, this was during COVID. So when I eventually saw my surgeon, which was about 15 months later, so I was actually in the specialist clinic. I knew I would have to wait as I got on there because I wouldn't be on the waiting list until I got there. I was told the waiting time was 3 to 5 years, and I'm a priority.
Oh my God.
This is a medical procedure. This is not a cosmetical surgery. It is a medical procedure. And my classification was super, super obese. So they go on, obviously they do a medical history and go through all of that, but qualifying criteria depends on your body mass index, which is, and to have it on NHS is you have to have a BMI, which is the metabolic index, of 35, between 35 and 40, plus maybe a comorbidity like hypertension, etc., etc. And if you got one over 40, you qualify, and then you don't need to have comorbidities. It's just then your BMI is classified as far too high. I can share with you that my BMI was 73.
Whoa.
And for anyone who knows their BMI can see how big that was. So I was classified as high risk and, urgent, and I still would have to wait that long.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And
but you would have got it for free.
So, I would have got it for free.
Did you have to pay in Sweden?
Yes. So there's a couple of things around there. So because my circumstances, my sister passed away prematurely at the age of 53 from lung cancer. But obviously anyone who suffered a loss of a loved one, that kind of shakes your priorities around and everything. And I was like, I don't have another year in me, because this was almost a year after my sister passed. I had already gone through the first GP and I was already on the 12-month program. But I was like, I don't even have 6 months in me. I need to do something now. Yeah, it's a long, long wait. And I have my roots in Sweden. So I contacted a clinic in Stockholm to have private treatment. So I'm privileged enough to be able to go private. Not everyone have that opportunity. So it was radical in the sense that I'm going to have to do it now. I contacted this clinic in Stockholm and they reviewed my case very seriously. They had a meeting about it and got back to me, and they referred me to this other clinic in the south of Sweden, because I'm from Stockholm originally. That's where my family is. But I was referred to this clinic in the south. And I contacted them because they specialize well, they operate on anyone, but they are very, very specialized in severe cases. And particularly, so my severity was basically very high BMI, but another severity could be that you have comorbidities or other conditions that might increase the risk for surgery. And they deal with those kind of things all the time. So I contacted them, and that's how the ball got rolling from there on.
Yeah.
Sweden is very, very high on kind of medical research, etc., etc. So they're in the forefront of the medical research and medical treatment in the world anyway. So this was not a holiday destination. So for me, it's also easier because I got my roots in Sweden. I speak the language, although everybody in Sweden speaks English, especially in professional environments. But obviously that gives you a little bit, it's home away from home.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. So you went to Sweden. What did you pay? Do you mind me asking? Was it really expensive?
No, that's the funny part of it. Because Sweden is more expensive than anything in England normally. But no, because when I saw this is going to be complicated. I'm going to go back and forth between surgeons. But the surgeon that I saw in the UK, he actually recommended me he didn't push me or anything, but he said, a lot of people do this. They go abroad.
Yeah, it's too long.
And to be honest, and I think I represent quite a lot of people when I say I didn't really want to go abroad.
Yeah.
You want to stick with what you know. It's a very serious decision to have an operation. You want to kind of, it's
likewise.
Yeah.
You can't wait 5 years, can you? I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Exactly.
So I'll be dead by then.
Yes. And also I considered having it in the UK. So I think we missed that part out, why I went to Sweden, to be honest. And he quoted me on estimates, like ballpark figures, because of my high risk. The clinics that would accept me would have to have access to a certain amount of other services. So it would have probably cost me somewhere between £15,000 and £20,000
in the UK. Okay,
that's
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So I looked at Sweden, and they charge at the clinic. They charge 79,900 Swedish krona. So that's just under £8,000.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of a normal price to pay for something like that, isn't it? But that's probably why so much people do go to Europe, though, isn't it? I mean,
no, that's cheap.
Yeah, it is cheap. Yeah, but
it's not comparison to the rest of Europe, because you can go to Turkey and have it for £4,000.
Yeah, that's true.
And where I went, you couldn't even set up the surgery for that amount of money.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but it's still at least better than the UK. It's cheaper than the UK anyway. Yeah. Some questions, right? So,
did we finish that one though?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So tell me, right, is there anything you wish that you knew beforehand, like negative things? Like even maybe like after you had it done, what was it like being in the other country, having to come back?
No.
Again,
because I am like the perfect example. So I'm a really, really good example. Everything worked out really good.
Perfect.
And I didn't have a lot of pain, and I was looked after very, very well. So how it works at that clinic is that you stay overnight. So you have your operation, stay obviously the day of the surgery, and you stay overnight, and then you discharge the following day. I shared a room with another young lady who didn't feel so great. And I will go into why when we might talk about different type of surgeries, because we have the same one. And she was not ready to go home. So she stayed an extra night. But what they recommend, if you live further than 20 kilometers, I can't convert that to miles, but 20 kilometers away from the clinic, they want you to stay in a nearby hotel for at least 3 nights, just to make sure you have access if you need to. Yeah, and also because you want to have access to them. So I stayed in a hotel nearby, walking distance. And I was perfectly fine. The only thing that I had pain issues with were, and anyone who's had surgery in their cavity probably have experienced this, is that they pump you with a gas to expand your cavity so they can access what they need to access. But that gas is not really in your, it's not in your airways, it's not in your digestive system, it's just in the cavity. The only way to get rid of that gas is through evaporation. So that means you need to basically sweat it out. Obviously, they try to empty it out as much as possible. They don't leave you like a balloon. There's always some that's going to be trapped. And that gas can be really, really, really painful. So that's why they ask you to get out. I was up walking, and I want to go back to that as well. I was up walking within an hour after surgery.
Okay. And you wasn't in loads of pain?
No, I was not in pain at all. A bit woozy from the medication, but not in pain. And the only pain I did have was from the gas. And everyone's different. I think I do have quite a high pain
threshold.
Threshold. So that. But in terms of negatives, this is also my background. I've got background in public health. So I am a researcher. So my research was done properly. This was a decision 15 years in the making. It was not a quick decision for me. So I was well informed. There's a couple of things I would say. My surgeon in the UK, because when I came to him, I said, I'm considering a gastric sleeve because I have 2 family members who've had a gastric sleeve and it worked perfectly for them. They have not been the same size as me. They've been quite a lot smaller than me, but still, over the threshold. But it's worked really well for them. And I kind of got my bravery from them in terms of, I'm going to do it. And when I told the surgeon here in the UK that that's what I'm considered, and he agreed. And then when I had my consultation with the Swedish clinician, he said, okay, so you consider the but that would not be my recommendation. It will be a gastric bypass, and you don't have to decide now. Now, but, and he explained, because someone like me who's got quite a lot of weight to lose, you lose more weight on this one. It's medically more established. It's been around for a longer time.
Okay.
And also, which means you got evidence, evidence for how it works long term. And there is less weight gain from having a gastric bypass.
So tell me something. What is the difference between the bypass and the sleeve?
So in short, gastric sleeve, they cut up to 90% off of your stomach, and they actually remove it. So with a sleeve, something comes out. Nothing comes out in a gastric bypass. They just rewire things, so it doesn't go through the whole process. The stomach is smaller, but then you don't go through the intestine. It goes. It's very quick. Very, very different. Very quick.
It sounds a little bit safer to me. Nothing's been cut out of you.
That's also a little bit when I thought about it. It's like, it's still there. It's still there.
Exactly.
But then I also had this feeling beforehand. This is just like your ghost in your head. Like, but then I have, because they cut it off, doesn't it kind of like die and rot? No, that's not the case. But you know what I mean? I was like, oh gosh, because it's not used. No, but everything's still there. It's just rewired. And what I then found out, and that I've looked into, and I think this is important for people that are considering gastric surgery, is do your own research in terms of what type of surgery do you think will work for you. Because like if you're a smoker and you don't think you can give up smoking,
That's true.
there's little things that you might need to know beforehand. The other thing is, if you go online and you go to forums, a lot of people have sleeves, which I thought was weird. After I know what I now know, because I can see people that are closer to my size, people that have a little less than I have, but it seems to be a lot of sleeves. So I had to kind of question this, what's going on? And why was my surgeon, who is very, very established and a very highly regarded surgeon here in the UK, why did he not give me the other information?
Yeah. But maybe, is it not like a country thing? Maybe just different countries are just...
No.
Okay.
This is a very exclusive club in the world. They're very, very specialized. The difference is that a sleeve, a general surgeon can perform a gastric sleeve very, very well.
Okay.
I suppose any surgeon is quite used to cutting things out.
Yeah.
But with the gastric bypass, it's a little bit more complicated. And for someone to be really good, you really need to be specialized, because a general surgeon wouldn't do that often. So it actually comes down to, it's an easy, cheaper option for a surgeon. To do the sleeve. And I think people should keep that in mind. And because no one will turn you away just because you want to have a gastric bypass.
That's it, isn't
instead of a sleeve, they won't turn you away. But question your clinician if they, make an informed decision which one would work best for you. That's my recommendation. The other thing is, which is more of a practical thing afterwards, I wrote something down, because I've been in a couple of forums where people are preparing for their surgery, so they've already got that far in the process that they're actually going to have surgery, and they're packing up on. They've had now the food list and things that you can eat and what you should focus on eating afterwards. And a lot of people stock up on various products and various foods. I said, hold your horses. Your cupboards don't need to be empty, but the thing is, your taste buds change, and things that there's going to be things, particularly in the beginning, the first 12 months you're still settling. So, but particularly in the beginning, there's things that you can't tolerate, even if they are on the approved list, the items that you can eat. So don't stock up on things that you need and might not know, because you don't know. So prepare yourself, have a few things that you might want to try, but don't kind of stock your cupboards with things and then they might not work for you. Because I know people go into over preparation sometimes, and that's one of the things that I suppose you're in control of, and you can do. You can go to the supermarket and find all these things, but just be a little bit careful that you might not actually tolerate or particularly like that kind of thing.
That's true.
And the other thing is, for any kind of surgery that are going to be life-changing, because gastric bypass is life-changing, if you haven't already, invest in therapy.
Tell me something. When you've had this done, did they tell you about anything that could go wrong? Is it something that could actually go wrong?
Yeah. I mean,
there is a risk.
There is a risk with any surgery. With the gastric bypass in particular.
What's the biggest risk they would say?
You can get your, what's the word? When your intestines, they kind of wrap around themselves, so you get knots, so you have to have another surgery. But that's just like you go to your hotel. No, you go to your normal hospital through your GP to have that's not thing. You can more with the sleeve, you can get the gastric reflux thing.
Yeah.
Can get a little bit worse. Yeah. I think there's a risk of gallstones and things like that. And I think the risks are lower with the bypass than the sleeve. There's definitely risks.
There are things that can actually happen that could go wrong.
And like research, do your own research. There is a risk. Complications during and just after, there was always a risk, but they are actually very, very small.
And would you say that it is still, well, is it kind of like, what kind of percentage would you think people could still overeat? Is it nearly impossible to overeat after you've had this done?
You can't physically overeat.
You can't do it. Okay, that's good.
You will with gastric, with both sleeve and bypass, particularly with bypass, but sleeve people get it as well, is something called dumping. So basically, particularly if you eat too much sugar or carbs or too heavy food or eat too fast, you can get dumping. And you can get dumping without gastric surgery. So it's that sickness that kind of comes over you when you've eaten too much and you need to lie down. And it's your blood sugars that are choking up. And
not something you're going to keep doing then, is it?
No. You learn very, very quickly. And the other thing is that you can't drink with your meals.
Okay, wow.
So you can drink almost up to have your meal, but then you should wait 30 minutes. Because you have to maximize your nutrient intake. That's what it's for. You don't want to dilute your food and fill your stomach before you're actually eating the little bit of food that you can eat. So that's why. And also, drinking too fast and drinking with your meal can cause dumping because of the size of it, etc.
So you've really got to kind of change a lot of stuff that you do.
Yeah, you have to. Is it worth it? Absolutely. I want to go back to my surgeons. They work in the clinic. There's 2 surgeons doing your surgery. So this surgeon that operated me, he's absolutely could even be the best in the world in specializing in heavy people. We can tag their names
we will
below because they're foreign names.
Yeah.
His name is Icelandic. Even to me, I can say in Swedish, but it's probably not how you say his name in Icelandic.
Well, we'll put the names at the in the comments, so then, and we'll also put your actual Instagram as well in the comments below as well.
What I want to say about the surgeon, because he's the head surgeon, the Icelandic one, and then it's Kamran Shah, who is his second man in command. They have made fine art. He's made fine art of this surgery. I was put to sleep for 45 minutes.
Okay.
Surgery was done in 35 minutes.
That's not too bad.
When you go online, they say, it takes about 90 minutes. So they work extremely efficiently, and this is no rush job. So they decrease that time over time. Very efficient. There's 2 surgeons, so they can do this, because with heavy people, the risks almost increases with every kilo of any person. So obviously, if you're heavier, the risks are even higher just to go under anesthetic.
Just for the anesthetic, isn't it?
Yes. So they want to minimize that, to minimize complications, and not let the anesthetic be the complication. So you're down for a very short period of time. There's not many places that do that. He teaches other people. He talks like across Europe about his techniques. People turn to him. People come to his clinic to learn. So I can't speak highly enough about them.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. So much anyway for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant.